We'll call the meeting to order. You get approval of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So moved. Approval of the minutes from the 12th and the 24th.
I move to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor, sign of aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. So moved. New business. Police sergeant and corporal examination process.
Good morning, Chairman Kelly, fellow commissioners. I'm Scott Vinnie Wustein. I work in the Human Resources Department. I coordinate and run the processes for the police department. So last month, you certified the list for police lieutenant. That was a very comprehensive process that was well received by the sergeants who went through that process. So before you, I have a document laying out. We're going to run very similar processes for police corporal and police sergeant. There will be three components within each: the written examination, which they will have to pass by a minimum of 70%, a assessment center component, which they will also have to pass with a passing score of 70%, and then the interview. So again, three components, again, 45, 45, and 10, the same as the police lieutenant process. And of note, I have a little note down there just in case you were curious or interested. We do have 70 police officers who will be eligible to go through the process if they so desire. And we have 25 corporals who will be able to go through the sergeant process if they so desire. So I present that to you for approval. We're excited to get those two processes going. Be happy to entertain any questions.
I have a question. So on the second bullet, you say that the written exam has 3 applicable sections, and then you say 70%. Did they have to get 70% in each section or overall?
Overall,
Okay,
yes.
thanks.
Thank you. Good question.
Any other?
I was just hoping to see the questions on the U.S. case law. Thought it might be interesting.
I'm sure at some point we can provide that to you.
Okay, thanks.
Gotcha.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
We will need a vote on that item.
So we need a motion.
I move to accept as presented.
Seconded.
All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So moved. Update.
Yes, at the last meeting, we presented sections 1 and 2 of the update for you to review. Commissioner Guest has been kind enough to review those in depth with me, and she has offered a couple of edits there that I will incorporate into a final version and send those out to you so that we can take an actual action at next month's meeting. But there were a couple of items that we would like to discuss. The first item is in Rule 1.1. This is the rule that deals with you electing your chairperson and vice chairperson at the first meeting of the calendar year. Obviously, we did not do that this year. We just took care of that at the last meeting in June. So we just thought this might be a good discussion topic of when you want to do that. If you want to do that every other year, it's really up to you. I just, because we didn't actually do it this year, it's just open for discussion.
Any questions?
Is there some statute that requires just a timing of how often you elect your chair?
There's not. Yeah, this is just a local rule here.
You hate to have a rule out there you violate on a regular basis, but you also hate to have such a prescriptive rule that it always has to be at that time in that place.
That's why I brought it up, is because we didn't do it, and so I didn't really want to put it in a,
You want to turn your mic on?
isn't, that says talk. Isn't it on?
It's on.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm not close enough. Yeah, that's why I pointed it out, is because I know we didn't do it. So I just thought we should discuss, if we do want to stick to that, then we just need to make sure that we do it, right?
How do other commissions do it? Do they all do it the same?
I'm not sure. That is something that I could look into, and we could bring back some recommendations on that.
I think in this particular situation, we had some people that were exiting, as well as we had some vacancies.
Yeah.
And it was delayed on 3 different occasions, I know, because of quorum, as well as waiting on the new appointee. So in those cases, you have to remember terms do expire at different times, and if that's the case, you have to have that flexibility.
I agree, and I thought it was appropriate to do it when we did it
Yeah.
this time around. It's just the rule says different, and we can just add some kind of language that says or when a, you know,
Well, we can say something like in the, as soon as practicable after
Yeah.
the beginning of the calendar year.
but, I mean, we would have still had 4 members. It's still practicable to do it with 4 members. It's just not ideal. You'd like the full slate to be there to choose their chairman or their chair. But then you could also get a situation is you don't have 4 members here and somebody misses a meeting and you're sitting there 8 months, 9 months, 10 months into the year trying to get a vote.
Maybe this is a vote. I've asked them about being able to do written sort of consents, and apparently we can't do that because it has to be public meetings. But I would think appointment of our chair would be something we could do as a group, maybe by consent, because that doesn't have to. I wouldn't think that has to be in front of everybody.
And that I will check in with legal about that, and hopefully we can come back at the next meeting with something a little bit better on that item.
Yep. Any further discussion? That's it. Move on to code enforcement officer.
Yes. I just wanted to give a brief update here on the Code Enforcement 1 officer. I appreciate everyone making a quick meeting work last month to address that item. As an update, the day after that special meeting, the Humane Society did return and want to negotiate with us. So they extended the contract on a temporary basis to get us through, I believe it was 90 days. We are continuing to negotiate with them and believe that we will be in a fine position for them to continue animal control services for us for 3 years. So as it stands right now, it does not appear that the city will be assuming those responsibilities.
Any questions? I have one. I wondered if they were looking at raising the service percent. Is that still the same, or
I'm sorry, what was the question?
they were looking at the reason why we were getting out was because they were increasing?
The cost.
Right.
Yes. The proposal that both parties have right now seems to be agreeable to both. There is a slight increase in it, but something that I believe that the city council will consider.
Hearing update.
This is just a reminder for you that we do have the John Kiss appeal hearing that's set for July 31st at 9 a.m.
Certification list. We have the sewer.
All right, so, sorry, this one, I don't know if this is on. Is it on? Okay. So this first one, it's a promotional. We actually only had one employee apply to this position. Of that one employee, they did pass the test, so that's why they are on the certification list. And I do have the demographics of that current employee there in front of you if you would like to reference that. Does anyone have any questions about that one in particular? It's a pretty quick one. No?
Nope.
Okay, we'll move on. Our next one is the equipment service worker. This was an entry level position in the fleet division of Public Works. We took an exam, so it was worth 100% of the overall qualifying component. There was a minimum qualification in that one in particular, and the minimum qualification was 1 year servicing an automotive equipment. So anything in the application that would give us that indication, that person got to move on to the next step in the process. For that one in particular, we had 18 candidates overall. 10 candidates met the minimum qualifications, which I just reviewed. 2 candidates withdrew from the process. 1 wasn't able to be contacted, and we try to do our due diligence in contacting them, whether it be on the phone, through email, mail. So they had been contacted in 3 different ways. Just unfortunately, we were unable to get a hold of them. And then we had 6 candidates complete the exam and interview. 6 candidates passed the background investigation, and that 6 candidates are on the certification list today.
Okay, we've come to the conclusion of the 4-month process for a police officer. I think most everyone understands the very complex and comprehensive job of our law enforcement professionals. Starting salary $57,464, and we do have a list ready for certification. A little bit about the process that we did. It was an application process that started back in March 14th, followed by the physical ability testing that we hosted on 3 different dates, followed by the written exam testing hosted on the same dates after the candidates passed the physical ability. Then they went to the written exam, followed by the polygraph and background investigation, and then the final component was the chief's final interview. This is how it kind of broke down. 150 applicants in the process. 26 did not meet minimum qualifications, and those disqualifiers were either they disclosed soft drug usage within the required time frame, or they did not meet the minimum educational requirements. So 124 were sent notifications to self-schedule the physical ability testing, and a shout out to St. Ambrose University. They were our host, as they have been in the past. The Wellness and Recreation Center hosted us, and they were a very good host, kept us indoors, so we didn't have to worry about any inclement weather for the testing. Again, there were 3 different dates for the candidates to select from, and different times, and we did them every 15 minutes to limit their wait time. So 31 withdrew from the process before they even scheduled. 13 did not schedule. 26 did not show after they scheduled, and 21 failed. Again, this is the state mandated physical ability. There's 4 components that the state puts out, and they have to pass each component. So 33 passed and moved to the written exam.
Was there any particular component they failed more frequently?
No, I think every component, again, it's the sit and reach. They have to sit and reach to a certain component based on, it's a gender matrix, so it's based on their age and gender. There is the number of sit-ups, number of push-ups, and then the 1.5-mile run. But I think they're pretty much all components. People failed all different components. Some just show up not quite ready for the testing. So then we moved on to the written exam. Again, this is a state-mandated written exam. They have to pass all 4 sections by a passing score of 70%. 27 passed. So then 27 moved into the polygraph and background investigation component. At this point, 6 withdrew. Some decided that were not going to be able to relocate here if they continued on in the process. Some had taken other jobs. 5 failed, and those failures were, again, at this point, we were able to disclose soft drug usage, a domestic assault, and I think a hit and run was the other. So they did not pass the background investigation. So then we had 16 pass and move to the final chief's interview, and that was an interview conducted by Chief Sikorsky, Major Bladel, Captain Jamie Brown, and Captain Jane Emming, who's here with me today. 1 withdrew from the process. This withdrawal was his wife had just taken another position within her company, and they were not going to be able to relocate up here, so that withdrew. And then 5 did not pass the final chief's interview, and then that leaves us with 10 on the certification list, which you have in front of you. So yes, Ms. Guest.
How do you fail the interview?
I can go over the questions that were asked. Again, it was a scored interview. They were asked 5 questions on a rating scale of poorly qualified to exceptional on their rating scale. So the first question, tell us why you are well suited to be a police officer in the Davenport Police Department. Your response should cover your education and or training, work experience that will enable you to perform as a police officer, one strength and one weakness as described by the current former supervisor, and your professional goals. So that was the personal qualifications question that they start with. Question 2, police officers arrest crime suspects. What other roles do you believe police officers should play in the community? What motivates you to seek a career in law enforcement? That was the role of police officers question. Decision making was the third question. Explain an obstacle or conflict in your life and the skills and resources you use to resolve it. Did it change you? If so, how? Question 4, diversity. List some differences in community members you expect to encounter while working as a police officer at the Davenport Police Department. What skills or qualities do you possess to help ensure your success during interactions with individuals that are different from you? How does bias affect policing? What biases must you overcome? And then the final question, career and impact. What have you learned about the Davenport Police Department during this application and testing process? What makes this department the best department for you? How will you positively affect our agency and community as a police officer? So those are the 5 questions rated, and based on their responses, again, they had to pass that by 70%.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Great, list is ready for certification. Thank you.
Motion needed.
I move to approve the certification list.
Second.
All in favor, sign of aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. So moved. If we can have the certification list.
Can I ask a question about the applicant flow by ethnicity that we have?
Is that for police officer?
Yes, police officer 2019.
Yep. So that's out of our NeoGov system, which houses it's essentially the software workflow product that we use.
Okay.
So that goes through the entire process.
On this section, if you go to the bottom, eligibles referred.
Yes, so that's the list, certification list that you have in front of you.
And so under the failed column, it shows all 10 failed. Is that just because they haven't been offered a position yet?
That is correct.
Okay.
So that, yeah, that's interesting. I guess I didn't notice that. So that must be an internal NeoGov thing, yeah. But we do have 7 Caucasians, 2 African Americans, 1 Hispanic. And then you do have the gender breakdown too on that. 6 are male, 4 are female. So, good question.
Okay, I just wondered why all 10 had failed, but it's just because they don't have a job yet. So I guess,
Yep. Thank you.
thanks.
Can I ask another question, please? how long is the list good, and will you be hiring more than one person off the list?
Yes, we will be hiring more than one person off the list, and the police officer list is good for 1 year. Yes,
Thank you.
Unless we exhaust it prior to that year, and then we'll be doing another process.
Thank you.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn the meeting.
Second?
All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Chairman. Good to see you.
Kari, do you need any help with anything? Okay, good deal.
We all covet that